I never thought the woman I loved more than life itself would become the reason my world shattered into a million pieces. My name is Michael, and for 23 beautiful years, Sarah was my everything. She was the warm light in our home, the gentle laugh that filled our quiet evenings, the hand I held through every storm. We built a life together, a cozy house on the edge of town, two wonderful kids who are now grown, and a love I believed could survive anything. My father, at 102 years old, was our family's living treasure, sharp as ever, with stories from a world long gone, but his body was failing, heart issues, frailty that came with a century of life. When the call came that evening, Dad had collapsed and was rushed to the ER. My heart stopped. I was 3 hours away at a work conference, stuck in meetings I couldn't escape. Sarah didn't hesitate. "I'll go right now, honey. I'll stay with him. You focus on getting here safely." Her voice was steady, full of that familiar care. I thanked her through tears, feeling so grateful to have a wife who would drop everything for my aging father. I drove through the night, my mind racing with worry for Dad, but comforted knowing Sarah was by his side. When I finally burst through the hospital doors at dawn, exhausted and terrified, I expected to see her there, holding his hand, whispering comfort like only she could. But the moment I approached the nurse's station, something felt wrong. The nurse, a kind woman named Elena with tired eyes, looked at me strangely when I asked for my father's room and mentioned my wife had been with him all night. She pulled me aside, away from the bustling hallway. Her voice dropped to a whisper that would change everything. "Sir, your wife wasn't here. Your father arrived alone by ambulance. No one was with him until we called you." My knees nearly gave out. I laughed nervously at first, thinking it was a mistake. "No, she told me she was here. She texted me updates." But the nurse's face stayed serious. She showed me the admission log. "Oh, Sarah, not a single mention. Just my father. Fragile and scared, waiting alone in that cold room." That was the moment the first crack appeared in my heart. But I had no idea how deep the betrayal would go, or how much pain was still waiting for me. I rushed to Dad's room, my mind spinning. He was weak but awake, and when I asked about Sarah, he looked confused. "I haven't seen her, son. The paramedics brought me in. I thought she was with you." His frail voice broke something inside me. I stepped into the hallway and called Sarah. She answered on the second ring, sounding tired but calm. "How's your dad?" "I've been here the whole time, just stepped out for coffee." I confronted her gently at first. "The nurse said you weren't here." There was a pause, that tiny hesitation that told me everything. Then the excuses poured out. Maybe they didn't see me? The ER was chaotic. I was in the waiting area making calls, but her voice, it didn't carry the warmth I knew so well. It felt rehearsed. Over the next few days, as Dad stabilized, the pieces slowly came together like a nightmare I couldn't wake from. I checked our phone records, her location history, the little clues I had ignored for months, late nights with friends, weekend errands that stretched too long, and then the messages, from a man named David, someone from her old workplace. The words on that screen destroyed me. "I can't stop thinking about last night." "Your husband still doesn't suspect anything?" Her replies, heart emojis, plans to meet while I was away, using my father's declining health as the perfect cover. She had been living a double life. While I trusted her completely, while I believed in our vows, she was sharing her heart, her body, her time with another man. And my 102-year-old father, the man who had survived wars and raised me alone after Mom passed, became her alibi. The thought made me physically ill. I sat in the hospital chapel for hours, tears streaming down my face, asking how the woman I cherished could be so cruel. The emotional struggle nearly broke me. Nights I couldn't sleep, replaying every happy memory, wondering which ones were real. I lost weight. I snapped at our kids when they called. I felt so exposed, so foolish. How had I not seen it? The distance that had grown between us wasn't work stress or empty nest feelings. It was her pulling away, making space for someone else while keeping me anchored with lies. But in that pain, something shifted. The love that once blinded me turned into clarity. I started gathering proof quietly. Screenshots, hotel receipts from her credit card statements I accessed through our joint account, recordings of calls where she slipped up. I wasn't the trusting husband anymore. I was a man whose heart had been shattered, and who was slowly, painfully, becoming strong enough to face the truth. But what I didn't know in those dark hospital nights was that the worst revelation was still coming, and that it would push me toward a path I never imagined. The confrontation happened on a rainy Tuesday evening. I had moved Dad safely back home with full-time care. Sarah walked through our front door after another long day, humming softly like nothing had changed. I was waiting in the living room with printed evidence laid out on the coffee table like quiet accusations. When I played the first voicemail from David, her face went pale. "Michael, I can explain. But there were no more lies that could fix this." I spoke calmly, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "You used my dying father as your excuse to cheat on me. You left him alone in the ER while you were with him. How could you?" She cried. She begged. She said it was a mistake, that she felt neglected, that David meant nothing. But the damage was done. The trust we built over decades was destroyed in months of deceit. My revenge wasn't loud or violent. It was precise and final. With the help of a sharp lawyer, I filed for divorce on grounds of adultery. Our assets were divided fairly but firmly. She didn't get the house my father had helped us build. I protected our children's inheritance and made sure the truth reached our close circle. David's wife found out too. Their affair crumbled under its own weight. Sarah lost the comfortable life she had taken for granted. She moved out with little more than her clothes and the weight of what she'd done. Watching her leave that final time, suitcase in hand, I felt no joy, only a deep, aching sadness for the love we lost. But I also felt free. Dad lived another 6 months, surrounded by real family who loved him. In his final days, he squeezed my hand and whispered, "You did right, son. Strength isn't pretending nothing happened. It's choosing to rise anyway." Today I sit in this house filled with memories, but my heart is healing. I've found peace in simple things: morning coffee with old friends, walks where I talk to Dad in my heart, and the quiet knowledge that I survived the deepest betrayal. If there's one lesson from my shattered story, it's this: trust is sacred, but when it's broken so cruelly, you owe it to yourself to choose truth over comfort. Pain will try to define you, but you can choose to rise stronger, kinder, and whole. The woman I loved is gone, but the man I became because of it, he's finally at peace. Thank you for walking this painful journey with me. If you've ever been betrayed, know you're not alone. Hold on to your worth. The light always returns.